Hi, everyone. I am Jennifer Imazeki. I am the Associate Chief Diversity Officer for faculty and staff in the Division of Diversity and Innovation. The division is working on creating several short videos with tips and strategies to help faculty and staff navigate this transition to working remotely. And we will also be hosting regular live virtual sessions for follow-up and discussion around each of these topics. So do be sure to check out the division's website at diversity.sdsu.edu for a schedule of all of those upcoming sessions. So this particular video is, excuse me, the second of actually three that provide tips and strategies for managing digital communications, particularly email. The first one focused on using email filters, and in this one I'm going to talk about using some of the other tools that can just help things keep things organized, in particular labels and stars, as well as at least one tool that should save you some time, and that's Gmail templates. So for those who have not used Gmail's labels before, these are basically equivalent to tags. You can also think of them as folders, except that you can assign more than one label to an individual message. So some people will argue that labels aren't really necessary in Gmail because you can always use the search function to find messages pretty easily. However, personally, I find locating the exact message I'm looking for tends to be a lot faster if I can first narrow things down to a particular bucket, and I do that with labels. Labels are also super helpful when you pair them with filters, which I talked about in the last video, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So you create labels from your settings, or you can create them directly from within any message. Just click on the icon along the top, and you can also nest labels just like you do folders, and you can give them different colors, and that can help identify messages when they are in your inbox, since the labels will show up next to the message itself. Another tool that I find really useful for keeping track of messages, particularly messages I need to come back to at some point, is stars. I'm sure everyone has probably noticed the star icon to the left of your messages in your inbox. If you don't use stars already, you may not realize that there are actually multiple stars you can apply to a message. There are different colors as well as different icons. You can see all the options by going into your general settings. And note that you can choose which ones you want to use. In addition to the normal yellow star, which I use as a reminder that the message contains some task that I need to come back to, I also will use the question mark when I send someone an email, and that's an indication to me that I've asked them a question that I'm looking for an answer to. I also use the eye icon to mark messages that contain information that I might want to read later. Okay. So to star a message, you just click on the star. When you open up a message, note that the star moves to the right-hand side. If you're in your inbox, it's to the left. As you click that star, it'll cycle through whichever stars you've selected to have in use. I will say one big reason that I use stars is because I then use them to set up multiple inboxes, but that's kind of an advanced thing. There is a link in the list of additional resources at the end of this presentation, and that links to an article that talks about how you might do that if you're interested. The last tool that I wanted to talk about is templates. These can save you a ton of time because they're basically an easy way to save and retrieve any text that you find yourself using a lot. So for example, I have a template with instructions for how to get to my office in PSFA. And I also have one that has my personalized Zoom link, so I don't have to remember each time. To create a template, just put the text you want to save into a blank email message and click on the three dots in the lower right-hand corner. That gets you to a menu where you can save the template, save whatever text is in that email message. Then when you want to paste that text into a message, you just click on those same three dots, find the template you want, and it will paste that information into wherever your cursor is in that box. Okay. All of these features, labels, stars, and templates, are even more useful when you pair them with filters. So for example, as I just discussed in part 1 of these videos, I filter anything that comes from a mailing list so that it skips my inbox and it's given the label lists. That creates basically a folder that I can go to anytime I have some free time and read through those messages at my leisure. You can also use a filter to star any message, say messages that come from your boss or others that you want to make sure that you don't miss and that don't get buried in your inbox. And one of my favorites is to use filters to create an automatic message to respond to an automatic response to certain messages. And this is particularly useful when you have students and you want to have something that goes back to them automatically if you aren't sure you're going to be able to get to their messages right away. So to do that, let me give you just a really brief tutorial on that. I'm not sure if folks realize that in Gmail, if you just add the plus sign after your username, anything after that plus sign doesn't really count as part of it as a separate address, and it will still go to your normal email address. So I can have jmizeki plus anything I want at sdsu.edu, and all of those messages will still come into my regular jmizeki at sdsu.edu inbox. So what I typically do is have a class-specific email address. And I do that simply by adding plus econ 102 or plus econ 301 to my email address. And that's what I put on my syllabus for that class. And that's what I have students message to. I then create a template that's an automatic response to any student who emails me. And that automatic response typically tells students when they can expect to hear back from me. And it does also try to point them to places where they might be able to get an answer to their questions sooner if they don't want to wait until I get back to them. Then I go in and create a filter for any messages that are coming to that specific address. And you can choose your template from the list as what the filter does. So basically any message that comes into that email address, it's automatically going to send a message back with the text of whatever's in that template. So that can save you a lot of time and kind of keep students off your back from if you don't respond to them immediately with an answer to their question. So we do want to keep these videos short. So there's a lot more that you can do with all of these tools. And the PDF of the slides with these links will be available on the DDI website. So be sure to check that, as well as checking the website for times and dates of the live virtual sessions. In those sessions, you can ask questions, you can hear from colleagues about how they deal with some of these issues, and also in particular, share what's been working for you. Hope to see you there.